From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
American Door Company has been family-owned and operated for over 29 years, supplying Northern California with quality garage doors, garage door openers, and installed with the best service you'd expect from a locally owned company. We serve all of Northern California from Willows all the way to the Oregon state line. Give us a call today.
Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Before we get to the forecast, just want to give you a quick reminder that the Cascade Theater on September 5th, it's on a Friday, got a show coming up called The Trouble with Angels. It's got Jane Lynch and Kate Flannery. They are two, they're pretty funny ladies, also have amazing vocals as well. So it should be an interesting show if you want to check it out. Get your tickets today, www.cascadetheater.org, or you can call the box office at area code 530-243-8877. Once again, that is Friday, September 5th, one night only, so be sure to get your tickets. All right, very active day out there today with a lot of lightning strikes once again. As you can see here, total strikes over 700 in the last half hour alone. That's not counting what we've seen here throughout the day today. Now, what I find interesting is it doesn't look like we're seeing much of a setup for thunderstorms in the valley at this point. Now, we could still see some development here as we go into the evening hours here, but as it stands right now, where we were 24 hours ago, we had that outflow boundary. Remember that wind coming down off of we saw an outflow boundary come out of a series of thunderstorms. They moved through the valley, and that outflow boundary was that lifting mechanism really that helped to really destabilize the atmosphere and give us those thunderstorms in the valley. I don't really see that signature going on right now, and we don't have much of a lifting mechanism at this point here. So it'll be interesting to see if anything develops, but as of right now, it doesn't look all that promising for any thunderstorms in the valley at this point, which may not be such a bad thing. We don't need the lightning strikes, right? But there you can see, again, last half hour, we've seen over 700 lightning strikes in the higher elevations. And we take a look at what that's done to our power. Yeah, we've seen power outages throughout the day. 800 out in Trinity County, out in Butte County. Those numbers, single digits, are thousands. So 4,000 for Butte County. Plumas, about 3,000. And Laston County, about 3,000. That's as of about 5 o'clock this evening. So we are seeing power outages as a result of these thunderstorms and heavy rainfall associated with these thunderstorms. The broad area of green is a flood advisory, but we do have that, a flood watch. We have two boxes there in Trinity County. Those are flash flood warnings that expire later on this evening. We could see some localized flooding, low-lying areas. Some of the creeks and streams could see some flooding. We also have a flood advisory between Chester and Susanville, also looking at the potential for some low-lying areas of flooding and some of the creeks and streams as well. So just giving you an idea that we are seeing some heavy downpours with some of this rain as well. So we look at our weather headlines. We've got one more day after today of some mountain thunderstorms. That being said, not as widespread, and I don't expect the thunderstorms to be quite as intense as they have been over the last few days. Temperature-wise, we are already starting to see the temperatures drop today. They'll drop even more over the next 24 hours. No big heat waves in the long range, and it looks mainly dry in the long range, meaning one more day of thunderstorms, and that should be it for a while. All right, let's take a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Tuesday, August 26th. Here's a quick look at your forecast here, starting with tonight. Temperatures in the mid to upper 60s for the valley. If we see any thunderstorms this evening and tonight, best chances, at least overnight, will be in the eastern mountains. Otherwise, things are drying out for pretty much everyone else. Out the door tomorrow morning, it's going to be a dry start. It should be a dry start. We had those surprise thunderstorms this morning. Mid-morning for places like Butte County, working their way southward. But I do expect mainly clear skies, and I do also expect to see some fog along the coast. So the monsoon moisture is still in place, and that's why we're still seeing the thunderstorms today. We're going to start to see the monsoon moisture move out tomorrow, but there still will be enough left over that there could be some more thunderstorms, as indicated here by the Storm Prediction Center areas in green. I think it's overdoing it a bit here. I don't think Bernie will get caught up in the action. Maybe not quite in even northern Trinity County. I think it'll be mainly Laston, eastern Plumas, Modoc, and in parts of Siskiyou County. We take a look at our forecast model. This is the HRRR forecast. And all right, you see this? Let's take you into about 7 o'clock. All right, so we may still see that potential of a little bit of that afternoon, evening convection develop in parts of the valley. Here it's showing Red Bluff, but it could be Redding, it could be Corning, it could be Chico. But we can't rule out as we see the sunset, get closer to the sunset hours, for some activity to develop in the valley. And I think the HRRR forecast model is doing a pretty good job with that. Then by the time we go into the overnight hours, most of it's off to the east, and I don't expect it to be all that intense. Then it dries out as we go into the early morning hours for everyone. Now, we go into Wednesday, you see what's happening? Most of it's in Modoc, Lassen, even parts of Plumas County, and eventually maybe some activity developing in Siskiyou County as well. But you can see it's not heading much farther south than that. We're not seeing it head over to the Boerne area. We're not even seeing any in northern Trinity County either. So that's where I think most of the activity will be here for tomorrow, even into tomorrow evening. But by tomorrow night, it's finally gone. And I can tell you what, we can finally take thunderstorms out of the forecast by Thursday. All right, so here's your Wednesday forecast. Temperatures will be in the low to mid 90s for the valley. We're talking 80s for the higher elevations. Best chances for thunderstorms north of the valley, east of the valley. Otherwise, you're looking at dry conditions and cooler temperatures. Looking at your 7-day forecast, starting off with the valley, these temperatures are going to be the mid to upper 90s for the next 7 days for Redding. Mid 90s on average for Red Bluff, mid 90s on average for Chico as well. We take out to the coast, temperatures there, mid to upper 60s, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures low to mid 90s inland, mid 90s on average for Trinity County. Now for Siskiyou County, Modoc County, the Eastern Mountains, still that chance for thunderstorms on Wednesday. Those chances for thunderstorms are out of here by the time we get into your Thursday, and we keep it that way through the weekend and even into early next week. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. Just want to remind you, there is a free Weather NorCal app. Now, this is a great app because any severe thunderstorm warnings that get issued, they actually go to the app first before anywhere else. So if you want to stay ahead of these storms, you can do that. It's also just a great resource. It is a local app with a local forecast generated by a local meteorologist. No, not much AI generated here. It's got a lot of that local flair to it, and I think that's why you'll really like this free Weather NorCal app. Search for Weather NorCal in your app store, and you will be good to go with one of the best apps in the area. Let's take a look at your fire weather forecast, sponsored by Garmin's Tractor Service. And by the way, you may want to start thinking about if your grass has grown too much, especially now we're talking about these fires, a lot of these lightning strike fires. You may want to start thinking about calling up Garmin's Tractor Service and having them mow your lawn, because we don't want to have a lot of these dry grasses out there. There are a lot of fuels, and that's what can really drive these fires. So we start with, let's talk about the Dillon fire here, and that's the main fire I want to talk about here this evening. I typically don't do a lot in the evening, but this is a fire that has been developing throughout the day and unfortunately has been creating some problems. As you can see here, there are evacuation orders for SIS 1402. You can see all of the numbers there where the evacuation orders are. There's also evacuation warning. So the order means get out of there if you're not already out of there already. The warning means be ready to go. Pack your things, be ready just in case you get upgraded to an evacuation order. So you can see here as of 1:18 p.m., that's the latest update that we've got here, a little over 1,200 acres, 0% containment. You can see the fire has grown. Just kind of give you an idea where it is. You've got Happy Camp here at Soames Bar to the south here. And this fire is really just being fueled by the fact that it's in very rough, steep terrain, so it's difficult for the firefighters. But number two, there are a lot of dry fuels for this thing to work with here, so that's also making things difficult and allowing it to really grow. And I just wanted to show you this here too. This is just where all of the heat signatures are, so you can clearly see this is an active fire as it has been throughout the day today. And again, same evacuation orders and warnings, just kind of give you some of that information there. This is kind of interesting too. I wanted to show you a satellite image from earlier today, the heat signature coming in from the Dillon fire. There you can see the heat signature and that plume of smoke kind of spreading northward as those upper level winds blow that smoke to the north. Now, when we take a look at the future with the winds, they're going to be kind of picking up a little bit again here for Wednesday afternoon, but nothing alarming. There's nothing unusual, no major wind events heading our way as we take you through the day Wednesday. As we take you through the day on Thursday, just some breezy winds at times, especially in those afternoon hours. So that's going to elevate that fire weather risk here. For the valley, you can see here, moderate to high for central Siskiyou County, and low to moderate off in the eastern mountains. Take you into your Thursday, and you can see here, moderate to high once again. Why? Because it's still pretty warm. It's still dry, and we've got those southerly flow of winds, a little breezy at times too, especially in the afternoon. So the monsoon moisture has really taken over here. It's going to be the case here. It has been the case today, but what's going to start to happen is drier air is beginning to move in behind this. So we're going to start to see the monsoon moisture work its way northward, drier air moving in behind it, and we are going to see we're going to be basically shutting off that moisture source for these thunderstorms, which means no more thunderstorms by Thursday, Friday, this weekend, and even into early next week as that drier air begins to move in. You see the brown and the blue, that is that drier air that we typically see around here. And I would say at this point, it's probably a welcome sight, especially with all of the thunderstorms that we've seen. Looks like the drier air stays in place even through the weekend. All right, so one last look at our severe weather outlook, and there you can see the chance for thunderstorms mainly to the north and east of the valley for your Wednesday. This will be the last day we're talking about thunderstorms. So once again, I do think that there is that slight potential that by, say, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, we may see some development here for parts of the valley. I don't think it's going to be quite as intense as what we saw yesterday, but we could certainly see some of that development here. Meanwhile, we go into the overnight hours. It begins to push eastward. We're now looking at dry conditions after midnight. Wednesday morning, it's a dry start. By the way, we have that fog along the coast. Now you'll notice as we go through the afternoon and evening, we do have scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast, but certainly nothing quite as intense or even widespread as we've seen the last few days. You can clearly see it's mainly for Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen. I think parts of Plumas County could see some activity, but places like say Bernie, south of that, most likely looking at dry conditions and dry conditions for Trinity County and dry conditions for the valley as well. And then by the time we get into Wednesday night into Thursday morning, it dries out entirely and we're looking at a dry day for your Thursday. Yes, no more thunderstorms after that. Definitely a welcome sight. Temperature-wise, we've seen those temperatures drop and they are going to remain fairly steady in the mid-90s, that is, give or take. Mid-80s, wouldn't that be nice? But more like the mid-90s, give or take here, really for the next 10 days. No heat waves, no big drops in our temperatures, just that steady flow of mid-90s, give or take, for the next 10 days. Also a welcome sight, especially after that heat wave we've been dealing with here. Wave heights are going to be fairly low for your Wednesday, and we go into your Thursday. Looks like that's going to be the same story, so no small craft advisories. But overall, we still have that dense morning fog, so that's something you may want to look out for. Here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. Trinity County, you're looking at temperatures in the low to mid 90s, maybe 83 degrees for Mad River, 89 for Ruth. Look at that. No more lightning strikes in the forecast for Trinity County, even for tomorrow. Your Dignity Health North Coast neighborhood forecast, temperatures mainly in the 60s along the coast here. As you can see, some low 90s for Alder Point and Garberville. No showers, no thunderstorms for you either, both for the coast and inland. Of course, that's been the case here during this entire event. Temperatures in the low to mid 90s over the next 7 days for the inland areas. Again, just kind of staying fairly steady with our temperatures here. One last chance at thunderstorms on Wednesday before we dry things out entirely by Thursday and Friday as we look at our Dignity Health Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast and temperatures in the upper 80s to low 90s. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast, 86 for Tule Lake, 84 degrees for Canby. Another chance for thunderstorms Wednesday, drying out by Thursday. Another chance for thunderstorms, say for Chester, eastward. Elsewhere, I think it'll be thunderstorm free, and then thunderstorm free even for the rest of the mountains by Thursday. Your Dignity Health Valley neighborhood forecast to the south, temperatures in the low to mid 90s. And we're going to pretty much keep it that way as we go through really the next 7 days. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Chico, we'll call it mid-90s for the next 7 days. Your Labor Day, a high of about 95 degrees. Let's take you up to the north, 94 degrees for Redding, as well as Anderson, 94 for Bella Vista, 89 out in Lakehead, and 94 degrees for Red Bluff. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding, and temperatures are going to be flirting with that 100-degree mark possibly by Friday through the weekend. But again, nothing too terribly unusual for this time of the year, maybe just slightly above normal. Labor Day, a high of 97. No showers, no thunderstorms with overnight lows generally in the mid-60s. That's your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock and also live on Coffee with Krueger with the latest on the fires. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of new fires we'll be talking about with the lightning strikes that we saw today. In the meantime, have yourselves a great night.
At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.